Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of almost all ages, with parental consent, the Sick Twisted Minds at Sacrificial Pawn Productions brings you a new style of horror film, like nothing you have seen before. There are no cops, no investigations. There is no backstory, no follow-up of the victims who were brutally tortured and murdered. Our story isn't about them. Normal Terror is about a single dad struggling to make ends meet. His son is his first priority. He goes to work, pays his bills, and is generally a great dad. The twist comes after he puts his son to bed. This is where he releases his stress. Some people do yoga, some hit the gym, some go for runs, some people paint on a canvas. An anonymous source once wrote on an abandoned asylum wall, "I never understood people until I took one apart just to see how it worked." If you are rear-ended in traffic, most people's thought runs to anger and their primal instincts of hurting the other party. Sam Neill does not have the ability to stop that primal instinct. Let us take you into the mind of a killer. Normal Terror is a concept from the mind of Sam Mason, who wrote, directed, produced, and is starring in this new age feature film.
Let's get slicing and dicing with Sir Sturdy horror fans. On this podcast, you will hear me and a guest do some movie reviews, random funny horror chats, and whatever else comes to mind. So tune in, kick back, relax, and always remember, I'll see you in your nightmares. Welcome to Horror with Sir Sturdy, Episode 4. Today, my guest John and I will briefly discuss the original Alien movie and talk a lot more about his amazing artwork. For those of you that don't know, he's my brother out in California. I've been waiting to talk to him for years, so I'm going to let him introduce himself. And John, you can take it away.
Yes. Hey, you can hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you good.
Okay, great. Yeah, thanks for having me on the podcast. And yeah, I'm excited to talk about anything, all this artworks that I've been doing, and how it relates to the movie Alien. It's all good. It's all fun stuff.
That's awesome. I'm just gonna, for those of you who've seen my live videos, you've seen the sculpture that I've named Sir Sturdy. John made it, and one day he messaged me out of the blue and said, "Hey, what's your address? I want to send you something." 2 days later, I got it, and that's the logo for the page, which is awesome. I've seen a lot of your work online. I've seen your the graphic novel. I still didn't get a chance to get my hands on that yet, but I definitely want that. That thing looks awesome. And just, what inspired you to start the art, to draw and all that?
When I was a kid, like Heavy Metal magazine was cool, but even I guess before then was Marvel Comics. When I was really little, probably about 10 years old, is when I decided to become an artist. And I just was, constantly copying Marvel Comics, as a teen. And then I had a chance to take an art class online, not online, but through the mail back then, art class during high school. And I just kind of dug my heels in and said I really enjoy the art thing, and I'm going to stick with it, all the way to the bitter end.
That's awesome. It's awesome because I've tried to dabble in drawing and all that, and I'm terrible. Like, even when I was little, I tried to draw. I started out with little cars and stuff. I just couldn't do it. Tracing, I can't do good. And I'm just like, okay, maybe this just isn't my calling. I love it though, as far as looking at it. I respect it, but not everybody can do it. Like, certain people have the touch for it and the look for it, and you're definitely one of those people.
I don't know about that. When I was first starting, I didn't have much of a touch for it either. I just mainly did coloring books, and then when I started drawing from comics, that was pretty horrible too. But I think having some patience to keep working at it, and then getting into art school. I went to school at Pratt Institute in Brooklyn, and I was probably the bottom of the class for sure. But I was so excited to be at the bottom because I felt like there was so much I could learn, and I spent every moment that I could in figure drawing class, and that really was the beginnings of me kind of learning how to do some cool stuff.
Cool stuff is an understatement. I will say that it's amazing. Like I'm just looking at the sculpture now, and I'm just like, wow. Like how can somebody do that? That's I don't know. It looks like something like to me. You know how they have the 3D printers now. Somebody can just find a picture or whatever. I don't know how they work exactly, and just print it out, and then this happens. But you did this.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I actually have a 3D printer myself, but it doesn't work very well. But yeah, like today, I went up to where I teach at Cal Arts, and just for the heck of it, even though school was over, I met up with a few students, and we said we can sculpt for a couple of hours, and we ended up sculpting for like 6 hours. No lunch break or anything. We just sat there sculpting the whole time. So it can be very relaxing. Actually, I really, really enjoy it.
That's that's pretty cool right there. How you like, have you ever thought of doing like while you're sculpting, maybe like a short little video similar to Facebook Live, like as you're doing a little sculpture or?
Yeah, I've tried a couple of tests on Instagram Live, and it's pretty good. I need to figure out a way to set up the camera in the right position. You know, when you're sculpting, it's kind of awkward, but it's in the works. I'll probably have it figured out. You know, in a couple of weeks. Then I'll try to do it maybe once a week. I'll just hang out and show people some different techniques about sculpture.
That's pretty cool. And I see this like on Facebook Live. They're not doing sculptures, but there's one group, I can't think of what they're called. They were doing like horror makeup and stuff, like the whole masks and all that stuff.
Yeah, that's cool.
They're doing it on Facebook Live, and I'm not sure. I'm guessing they were recording from their phone. I'm not 100% sure, but the way they had it set up, so it'd be like a selfie shot, so they can see the comments. The one guy can see the comments that's doing the makeup and talk talk to the people who are watching it as he's doing it. I don't know how that would work for sculpting because I know it's a little.
Yeah, that's cool. I think they do it on their phone. But yeah, totally. I think that's just a great way to, kind of build my, reach so I can reach out to more people and, all that type of stuff. So, yeah, that sounds like it's in the works for sure.
That's awesome. That's real awesome. And I know you're a big Star Wars fan. I am a fan. I'm not a huge fan. I'm not going to say I'm a huge fan. But did you see the new movie?
What was that last part again?
Did you see the Star Wars movie that just came out? Did you see that?
I liked it, surprisingly enough. I didn't, I wasn't too crazy about any of the other Star Wars films besides, Star Wars, the original, and Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
But all the other ones, I wasn't, not much of a fan. But then I liked this one, surprisingly enough. I was like, there's no way I'm going to like this. I already hate it. And I sat down in my seat, and I'm like, I don't know. I'm enjoying it. So I was genuinely surprised at how much I liked it.
See, I've been there before with movies. For me, as you know, I'm a big horror fan. I love the comic books and all that stuff. I grew up a Ninja Turtles fan. I actually got to meet Kevin Eastman with one of my best friends a couple years back, which was freaking cool.
That's great.
And we were talking, as the last Turtles movie came out, the first one, as that one was getting ready to come out, me and my friend were debating on if we were even going to go see it or not, because you're hearing all these rumors about this, that, and the third, that they're going to be from space and all this stuff, and it kind of ruined it for me. So when we went to this con, we got to meet Kevin. Like I said, we got to meet Kevin. We got to talk to Kevin, and we asked him, should we go see this movie? And he said, go see. He told us to go see the movie. So after that, I was like, we had to see it, and I'm glad we did.
That's cool.
I will say, like the look of the turtles, the way they look now is what kind of steered me away from it. But if you watch the movie, it fits their personalities. You know what I mean? Like their look, their personalities for the newer movie. But I still like the classic look better. Hands down, it's better.
Right. Yeah. It's hard. It's always hard to beat the classic, the original. You know.
It is. And I guess we could briefly talk about, like I said, the alien thing. I'm not too great on. I just watched it for the first time the other night. So I'll let you take it on this one. What did you think about the movie?
Well, the original Alien, both the first two films are one of my biggest influences. When I first saw Alien as a kid, I was like, it was kind of disappointing because not much happens, and you're kind of like waiting, and then a couple of things happen here and there. But I kept watching it anyway on HBO. Every time it was on TV, I watched it, and by the seventh time, I was like, okay, I love this movie. So there's a lot of subliminal stuff that they put in the film, which you might not get on the first viewing, but it's pretty cool, and the alien itself, the original design, is just so sophisticated and cool. So when it comes to my character designs, I kind of aspire to someday do something, as cool as that. We'll see if that ever happens.
Well, from what I've seen, I think you've already, in my opinion, I think you've already done that, but that's my opinion.
Yeah, well, thanks. But, yeah, we'll see. But, definitely feel very grateful here, in California. There's so many great sculpture teachers. In fact, I'm taking another sculpture class dealing with like hard surface robots and stuff, which is starting in January, So I'm always kind of learning from these incredible teachers out here, and that's super, super helpful.
See, that right there, I feel like that's a real awesome thing, and that's a real humble thing, because like I said, for you, I don't know of many artists and sculptors, but from what I've seen, you're the best. And for you to say that you're still learning and there's still teachers out there, you're going there, that's humbling, that you still want to better your craft and perfect your craft instead of just like saying, okay, you know how good you are, I can just stop like right here, I can just keep doing what I do and stay in my comfort zone instead of expanding it, which that's all, like I said, that's amazing.
Yeah, I just, there's always new things to learn for sure. And, the level of craftsmanship that they have, of some of these artists anyway, in these studios, are so incredible. I had a chance to go to Legacy Studios, like, I don't know, about 8 months ago, and I was almost crying. This stuff was so incredible. It was like the original sculptures for Jurassic Park and Iron Man and all these amazing movies, and I'm looking at this stuff, looking at it thinking, I will never, as long as I live, be as good as these people. But it's just so inspiring just to have the opportunity to see these original pieces of art. It's just, incredibly humbling, but really, really awesome.
That sounds like a dream come true. Like, that's something I would love to see, because that's cool. That's real cool.
Oh, actually, I'm sorry. I think I'm losing you. I can't hear your voice now.
Can you hear me now?
Better now, yeah.
All right. No, I was just saying, like, that right there, what you were just saying, that has to be an amazing feeling, right? To be able to see something like that, like, in person, like you were saying, the Iron Man sculptures and all that, because that's, like, you see that stuff on TV or you see it in comic books and all this stuff, you see it in movies, and you're like, wow, now you're actually seeing it with your own eyes in person.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of humbling. It's kind of depressing in a way. It was just so, out of control, good, but a friend of mine was showing me around the studio, and somebody said, hey, are you interested in working here? They're just asking, like, hey, are you interested in working here? And my friend said, no, he isn't. He's only interested in doing his own thing. And I was kind of surprised that he said that, but then I thought about it afterwards, and he's totally right. As amazing as Legacy is and all the artwork that's being done around the world, it's all awesome, but I want to do my own movies. I want to do my own stuff. So, I'll be inspired by all this stuff, but when it comes down to it, I just want to make my own stuff, my own movies.
See, now that's what I like to hear, though, because you're humble as far as the fact that you know that those things are amazing, but at the same time, you're still hungry to the fact that you want to reach that level, or even a piece of that level. Like, look,
absolutely,
I did. Yeah. Even if you made, like, I would love to see that. Like, say, even if you made a movie, and this isn't to give you any bad luck, because I wish you the greatest luck, but say it wasn't as big as those, but you can at least say, I did that. Like, I accomplished this goal of mine.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like, I keep thinking, you see a movie and you're like, oh, that's terrible. I can do better than that. But making a movie, even though you may think it's better, some people still hate it. It's like,
right.
It doesn't matter how hard you work. There's always going to be people that are going to not like your stuff, and the thing that people don't realize about movies is you could work very, very hard on a script, and you could make the movie and sit in the theater and say, yeah, man, that's trash. So it's so hard. It's almost like comically hard to actually execute something and have it be awesome, But at the same time, it's the ultimate challenge. So what's the point of getting into this if you're not going to swing for the rafters, as they say,
You have a great point there, back to where you were saying about sitting in the theater saying this movie's trash and I can do better, because I cannot tell you how many times I've watched, let's say, a horror movie, just watching it, at home or whatever, a DVD, and it's like, one of the B-rated movies, a lot of movies, a lot of people haven't heard of the movie, and the acting is terrible, everything's terrible in it, and you're sitting here thinking to yourself, like, me and my friends can sit here and do better than this, knowing damn well you really can't, because these people, a lot of these people, even though they're not big names, they still practice the craft. They still, that's what they do. That's their livelihood for some of them, not all of them, but it's like, it's just funny how people, you think, and that's with anything too, like even with sports, you could watch, I don't know if you watch sports or not, but I do, and you see somebody, like, say, watching football, they drop the ball, you're like, how the hell do you drop that? I could have caught that, but it's like, could you really have got that? Could you really have done that?
Yeah, exactly. It's easier to kind of, to sit back and, criticize and stuff, but there's so many variables, dealing with actors and camera, and everything that can go wrong will go wrong every single day. But, I recommend for anyone who's interested in movies, horror, or whatever, is make movies. Get a video camera or shoot something with your cell phone camera, edit it, and just make a little movie. And get your friends together, watch the movie. They're going to give you feedback. Oh, this was not working. And then you do the next one, it'll be a little better.
You're right.
It'll definitely be a little better. And you just keep making it, and then you're in the mix. It's pretty cool.
You're right with that. See, me, I'm more like as far as recording, like this is my first podcast stuff. I'm just getting into this, dipping my toe into this, and I'm already enjoying it. And I've done YouTube videos here and there, just like goofing around. But I want to start doing more. Like I've done a few Facebook Live videos where, like, when I I get this thing called a horror horror pack, and I get
Right.
4 Blu-ray movies a month, and I would do an unboxing on Facebook Live with that. And then also, like, when I buy new horror figures, I'll show them off from Facebook Live, and just talk about them with people and all that. But I want to branch that. I want to keep doing that, but instead of doing it on Facebook Live, I want to do, like, YouTube videos. That way I can clean it up, edit it, and then kind of just, put it on there. Because the one thing I do miss doing when I did my little videos was the editing part. It's time-consuming, but it's fun. Like, I liked every second of it, but it takes a while.
Yeah, no, that's great. Once you start practicing editing, then you start getting involved with filmmaking. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's fun. Like, I don't mind being on camera. I like being on camera as far as, like, the little things I do, and I also like being the one that cleans it up, that, throws little effects here and there, however it is, and just kind of, it's all around fun for me.
That's awesome. That's so cool.
It can get frustrating, as you may know, with certain things, but that's when I'm like, all right, you know what? I got to hit stop, save it, turn it off, and just go do something until I cool off before I do something stupid.
Yeah, definitely. It's always a challenge, If it was easy, it wouldn't be as gratifying when it comes together,
Not at all. It wouldn't even be worth, not only that, one, it wouldn't be worth doing, and two, if it was that easy, everybody would be doing it. Like, oh, I can do this video in 2 seconds. Like, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. When they had all these new video cameras came out, and anyone can make a movie, and people thought, oh, we're going to have all these great movies because everyone can make a movie, and it was still only the same 0.001% are actually making stuff that's good.
Yeah.
It's always the same. So, it doesn't really matter about the technology. It's about, creating something, critiquing, making it a little better, making it a little better, and then just, climbing up that ladder, just like, all these people that are doing really great. They didn't start off great. They started off at the bottom like everybody else. Pretty crazy.
That's very true with anything, like with the movies and stuff. Like you're saying, like nobody's gonna start off at the top. I don't care how talented you are. There's always gonna be somebody better than you at your craft, and that should just make you work harder at it. And
yeah, absolutely. I was thinking, I was like, well, what if I went to film school instead of art school? You always think about what if. I would have been making movies now, but I'm guessing if I was working as a full-time filmmaker, I'd probably be wishing that I could sculpt.
That's true.
You're always wishing for something that you're not doing. So I feel like I've enjoyed the art life for all this time. And I don't have too many regrets, and now I'm willing or excited about taking that next step into the film, side of things.
That right there, that's awesome right there, and I cannot, because I know it's gonna happen. I cannot wait to see that happen for you, because I know it's gonna be amazing. I don't care what anybody else is gonna say about it.
Yeah, I'm taking 7 months off of work. And I'm going to spend, the first 3 months writing my first draft of the screenplay.
Okay.
And then the next 4 months, I'm going to be starting to do pre-production, storyboards, and all the art stuff that has to do with kind of designing the film. And then we're going to take it around. We have some connections in China. We might be able to go to China and see if we can get some funding there, or even in the U.S. There's some connections here, obviously. So we'll see, And the thing with movies is you don't need money necessarily. I mean, we can do it low budget, too, just with the cameras. And I have tons of friends who do makeup effects and special effects. And, I'd rather not do it that low budget, but it is possible. So, the only thing that's standing in my way is myself, and I'm willing to get out of my way and just start moving forward. So, yeah, it's pretty exciting.
That's awesome. Now, what about, I know you said you can possibly get funding in China and stuff. Have you ever thought about doing like the kickstart that a lot of people do?
Yes. I did a Kickstarter for my book, which was successful. We did it. We had a really great run with that. That is an option. Absolutely. Crowdfunding. That is an option. I don't know if I'd have that much of a fan base to raise that much money, but if I could, that could be cool. I'd have to, probably shoot a sample, like a little 3-minute, really kick-ass sample of what this thing looks like, and then try to raise money through Kickstarter. What's good about that is you own the property 100%, as opposed to an investor. So who knows?
Hey, again, from me, I feel like if you did it through Kickstarter, you would I think you'd be able to do it, but again, you'd probably have to throw a little sample out there, like a 3-minute sample, like you were saying. And hey, I think the sky's the limit, or the stars even. Reach for the stars with that. But I think you could do something amazing with that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yep, I can hear you good now.
Okay, good. Yeah, so yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, you can start anywhere, and go anywhere. Like when I was growing up, I didn't really have any art friends necessarily, or any art classes, really. It was very minimal. But I was kind of determined. And then, like I said, when I went into art school, I really worked very, very hard. But I feel that, if I can get where I am, growing up in upstate New York, which is, I'm not sure how much art is going on there now, but there wasn't any when I was growing up, that if I can do it, anyone can. It's just determination and also enjoyment. If you enjoy what you're doing, then you want to, kind of keep trying to get better at it,
Yeah, I agree with you there. And as far as the art up here, upstate New York, it's still not really much. I mean,
I'm sure
there's probably more than I know of, but there's still not much.
Yeah.
But I have friends that are doing a few things out here, not necessarily art. I mean, if you want to say music, yes. And then I have another friend that's like doing stuff with hats, like making hats and stuff, which is cool. But as far as like sculpting and all that, it's not much. It's not much at all, actually.
Yeah, exactly. Also, nowadays there's the internet. There's YouTube videos and all that. When we were growing up as kids, of course, didn't have any of that.
Not at all.
So yeah. Pretty crazy.
But another thing that's cool with you, and I'm not going to try to make this too much race based, but I feel like being African American, it's sad that it's like this, but it's not cool for us to like art, like horror, like the quote unquote nerdy stuff. It's like if you like that, you're a punk, or you know how it is. Which is it's the dumbest thing in the world. I'm like, why? Why do we have to only... I mean, I love sports, don't get me wrong, but it's like, why do we have to be generalized as liking hip-hop and sports, and that's pretty much it. That pretty much sums it up. Like, we can't have anything beyond that, which is wrong because, I mean, look at what you do, and I've seen a bunch of other artists that can do some amazing things, and it's kind of funny how that works, though. It's sad, but it's funny in a way.
Yeah, you have to... I don't know. You have to kind of dig your heels in as a young person and just be like, I wasn't interested in following anyone. I didn't really have any group that I could attach myself to. But no, I just was like, I'm doing my own thing. I didn't follow sports at all. I've never even seen a football game. I've never even watched sports. So I was very determined and kind of narrow-minded to do my own thing. And, when you're in high school and stuff, you might end up being kind of like an outcast in a way. but I didn't want to join any team. You know, my attitude is it's my team. If you want to join my team, that's cool. I'm not going to join your team. You know, so that's always been my attitude ever since I was like 5 years old. So
That's an awesome mindset, though. Like, just because you're not worried about being with the quote unquote in crowds. You're worried about just what you want to do, and if people are cool with that, cool, join it. You know, you could do your own thing, but it could still be cool, or you could stay over there. Which,
yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I think it's important, you know, for young people to kind of figure out what they want to do, you know, for themselves. And it's not easy. It's kind of, sometimes it feels like it's all, you're pushing this boulder uphill for many, many, many years. But I would rather be pushing a boulder uphill than settling for something that isn't me, you know? Mm-hmm. So that's kind of my point of view, for sure.
Yeah, I get you with that. Now, I looked at a thing you did with Jurassic Park. I know we've discussed this before, like messaging each other or whatever, but with the Hasbro thing, do you know whatever happened with that?
Well, yeah, I'll tell you that it was ironic because I saw these really cool dinosaur toys. Someone had them in a sculpture class, and they were like $12 each. They're really cheap, and I bought a whole bunch of dinosaurs. I just love, you know, I don't know if I love dinosaurs all my life, but lately I was like, yeah, man, dinosaurs are cool. So I had these toys sitting there, and I got this weird random email from Hasbro asking me if I was interested in sculpting dinosaurs, which I found out later on was Jurassic World. And I didn't know how they found me, really. I had no dinosaur stuff in my portfolio. So, and I thought it was Hasbro, so they'd be like toys. Mm-hmm. So I started sculpting this toy, and the art director was like, what are you doing? This is not what we want. We want something real, you know, like the movie. And I'm like, are you sure? So I kept sculpting it, and he kept kind of yelling at me like, I want it real. I want real anatomy. And I'm like, all right. So I put all this detail in there, ridiculous amount of detail. And they were like, man, that's cool. So I ended up sculpting 3 dinosaurs for Jurassic World. And, yeah, I guess they made them as toy. I never saw the toy, but what they do, I think they send it out somewhere in Asia, and they have the toys, you know, kind of articulated and all that. So it was an incredible experience. And then I worked on a whole bunch of other movies like Frozen and, I don't know, all this Disney stuff. But, yeah, it was a great experience. But, again, it goes back to that visualization. I love those dinosaur toys. And that kind of, you know, it kind of projected that out into the universe, and that just kind of came back to me. You know, it's pretty crazy.
See, now all that right there is just awesome to me.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Now, when you do your sculptures, again, because I know nothing about this stuff, so bear with me.
Sure.
When you do your sculptures, like, do you have? I know you have. I'm guessing you have a vision in mind, but do you have like a drawing that you base this off of, or do you just kind of like freestyle it?
Well, it depends. Like Jurassic Park, you know, they were already kind of standard dinosaurs. You know what I'm saying? So they gave me a chance to come up with my own research. You know, so I did the raptor first. I think. Yeah, I did the raptor first. And I thought to myself, well, what's my favorite raptor? You know, so my favorite raptors were for Jurassic Park 3. So I kind of focused on those raptors. And then I did a couple of other dinosaurs. But if it's like a movie like Frozen or something like that, they'll give you drawings, like very, very specific drawings. And you're going to kind of create that in 3D.
Okay. See, that's just amazing how that... I couldn't do that.
Oh, sorry, I think I lost you again.
Hang on. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. Sorry.
That's all right. All right. Yeah, I was just saying that's just amazing that, like, for one, that they reached out to you, for those two movies that you just mentioned. They reached out like, "Hey, can you do this for us?" And you just did it like that. The pressure, but did you feel a lot of pressure when you were doing them, or?
Pressure. I did because I always wanted to work on the Jurassic Park movies. So I wanted to do a really good job. But, you know, like I said before, I thought they were just going to be like these kind of, you know, kids' toys. And then when I realized how they want it to be more real than the movie, then I'm like, wow, it's like I'm really working on Jurassic Park. And then for the second dinosaur, it was easy because I already knew what they wanted. So it took me like a day or two to do the second dinosaur. And I handed it in, and the art director was like, yeah, this is great, awesome. And, you know, he signed off on it. And I couldn't sleep that night. I kept thinking, no, man, this could be better. So I woke up in the middle of the night and re-sculpted the head and sent it to him. And, you know, he was like, wow, I've never seen an artist who, you know, it's already approved. You're already kind of like, you know, the paycheck is in the mail type of a thing, and you're doing all this extra work. And I think he realized I'm not doing it for the paycheck. I'm doing it because I really, you know, respect and admire those movies. And I'm going to go that extra mile to make it as good as I can make it, you know. So I think because of that, maybe he ended up giving me a lot more work. And I did not a lot, but I did quite a bit of work for Hasbro, you know. So, yeah, it was a great experience. But I think the reason they found me, I think, is because I was putting so much stuff up on Facebook, you know, constantly putting stuff up. And you're kind of, you know, putting that stuff out to the world constantly. And eventually someone out there is going to say, hey, I think you could do something for us, you know.
Yeah, that oh man, I don't even know what to say with that. That's awesome though, because it's like like you said, the check was pretty much in the mail, the guy was saying, and you're just like, in your mind, you're still not 100% happy with it. You're like, I'm not gonna even though they okayed it, I didn't okay it, so I'm gonna do this till I okay it. That right there is just, that right there tells me and shows me that once you get this movie thing settled, you're gonna get it done, because you're not gonna stop or just settle for less. You're gonna be like, look, this is how I want it. This is how I see it in my head. This is how I have to have it done, or it's not even worth doing.
Yeah, exactly. You have to fight, you know. And maybe sometimes there's no fighting. Maybe everything works out fine, but. For my goal or my plan, you know, is to write a complete screenplay. You know, it's all buttoned up, good, and then I'll sit down. I'm gonna build the sets in the computer. I'm gonna have all the sculptures done. You know, the movie is gonna be visually kind of locked in. So if you go that extra mile and people look at it, they're like, it's easier for them to say yes or no because it's all figured out. You know, so it's gonna, you know, it's kind of like going that extra mile when, you know, when you're starting out, you know. But I enjoy it. So basically, I might be working on this quote film for, let's say, 2 years without getting paid a penny. You know, I'm working for free. And if I hire people, then I'm paying for them. So it's a kind of a gamble, but at the same time, I enjoy it. I don't mind spending thousands of hours and not getting paid a penny because I really honestly enjoy it, you know. So yeah, I'm pretty jazzed.
That right there, that's how you have to make it with something that you really want to do. I'm not too familiar with the quote. I don't know how familiar you are with Charlemagne the God, but he had a quote where he's pretty much saying, well, he said, put the weed in the bag first, which he pretty much meant by that was, you know, do the little stuff first before you try to be the big man on campus, so to speak.
Absolutely.
I think that's what he meant by, like, it was worded. I read his book. I love reading stuff like that, but he's pretty much saying, like, you have to start from the bottom and work your way up. Like, no matter what anybody says, he's on the radio a lot. Like, he's on Power 105 in the city.
Uh-huh.
And like he started from South Carolina, little radio stations there, little radio stations getting fired, but he just kept going and going and going until he got to that point to where he's just where he is now, and he's still working hard to get even higher. Like now, his next goal is to have like a nighttime television talk show, like Leno and all those guys.
No, that's great.
And just with you saying that, like with you saying what you were just saying, just made me think of that. Like you really have to, no matter how good you are or how good you think you are, you still have to work your ass off to get where you want to be.
Yeah. And the trick to this whole game is, again, if you're enjoying what you're doing, then it's not work at all. You know, when I started working at Disney, I was doing concept design, and once I started there, I realized, wow, I don't have to look for a job anymore. I have a full-time job, and it pays well and all that. And I realized you don't have to work anymore, you know? So during my lunch breaks, I would just draw, you know, go to figure drawing class and just really enjoy myself. And I realized, wow, I've been working too hard, you know? It's like if you can enjoy what you're doing and relax. You know, I think especially Los Angeles, everyone's working so hard. They're trying to climb the ladder and to be this thing, and then you get there and you're depressed because you have a big empty house and a full bank account, but you're still depressed. But if you enjoy and let it be play like a little kid, then it's different. It's a different mindset. If the movie's not made, it's okay. I enjoy writing the script. Mm-hmm. I enjoy doing the storyboards, you know. So I try to tell that because I teach art at the colleges, and I tell my students, I say, okay, kids, I don't want you to work hard anymore. No more working hard. Just enjoy yourself, because at least in the art world, if you work hard, you're stopping yourself from exploring your natural ability. You know, it's like going on the dance floor and saying, I'm going to dance really hard. You know, yeah. You're not going to dance right. You're going to look like an idiot. So, and it's the same with life. You know, if you just enjoy it, you know, you'll never have to work a day in your life. You know, it's literally just enjoying what you're doing, enjoying the process, you know. So once I learned that, I was about 25 years old when I realized that. And I don't think I've worked a day since. You know, I just play. When I work for Hasbro, I'm playing for Hasbro. You know, I'm playing with sculptures. I'm playing when I teach class. I'm playing when I make movies, you know. It's in that boulder I was talking about where you're pushing that boulder up the hill, mm-hmm. There is no boulder anymore. There is no hill. I just walk around the hill. I just play, you know. And because of that, these incredible opportunities have come to me, you know. So last year somebody asked me, hey, do you want to teach a class in China? And I'm like, I don't know. Yeah, sure. So now I'm flying out to China and I'm playing with students out there, talking to them about playing and having fun. And, you know, the life is so much easier now. It's just incredible.
See, that right there is awesome, too, just going out to China. I might as well ask you, how is it out there?
It's great. I mean, you know, there's a lot of, the talent, the students were absolutely incredible. I was very humbled. You know, the students are like 17 years old, and they draw better than I could ever in my life. The hard thing was because I was in Beijing and nobody speaks English there, so I was you know working with a translator, but the people are super nice. I mean, super welcoming, nicest people, and they asked me if I wanted to come back. They were just, you know, they treated me to dinner every day and just super nice people and really appreciative of what I was, you know, trying to teach them. So, you know, I have nothing but positive things to say about the people that I met there. They're just awesome, you know.
See, that's so cool. That's that right there is just that's awesome. Like going out, just being able to go out there and do something like that. It has to be. It has to be a humbling experience. I'm guessing.
Absolutely. The thing for me, because you mentioned before, like a racial point of view, about that type of thing, where because we're all kind of, we all come from the same root of the tree, so to speak. So I don't really see people as different. I see people as an opportunity to learn from other cultures. So I'm constantly studying the entire, everybody. You know what I mean? I don't identify with any one group. Mm-hmm. I identify with everybody. So because of that, I'm able to learn so much more, and I'm able to take my artwork further. It's kind of international point of view. And I've seen a lot of artists who only focus on one particular racial group, let's say, and their artwork usually isn't very good, because you need it all. You need to understand the concept of design and art is across the globe. And once you internalize that, you can take your work so much further, So I think because my work was so culturally diverse, it has opened up the doors for me to go to other countries, go to Italy, and go to Australia and Taiwan and China, and to embrace these people, and to learn from them and to be so grateful. And then for them to be grateful to me, for me to go there, it's like, wow, this is pretty darn awesome, Yeah,
that's wow. I got another question for you now, seeing as how you told me you've been to all these other countries. What was your favorite food dish from these countries if you had to choose? I'm like, that's the first thing that I'm just like, I gotta ask this. If
you don't want to know.
I do.
When I was in Singapore, my favorite place to go was Subway.
Oh wow!
I'm just like such an American. Like where's McDonald's?
Okay. Hey.
So. Yeah, I'm really nervous when it comes to trying new food, so I just stuck to Subway most of the time.
Oh, wow. See, I feel, now this is me personally, I might try something, but at the same time, maybe seeing something, you might be like, you know what, never mind. Let me just, like you said, let me go to Subway.
Yeah, there was incredible Indian food in Singapore. It's very spicy, but just really, really good. So I would say I like most Indian food. I love Indian food here in the U.S. And so I would say that was my favorite. And they have all kinds of dishes, but I like almost everything that they have when it comes to Indian food. I was in Germany. Oh, my God. The food was incredible. They had this chicken schnitzel something thing. Everything that I had in Germany was incredible. I went to Italy, and I didn't really like Italian food. I love Italian food. I make Italian food myself, but I don't know. Maybe we got unlucky, but I didn't like anything in Italy, food-wise. I was in Prague. Incredible. Basically anywhere in Europe, except for Italy. I love the food, because I was really nervous. I was like, oh, Germany, I don't know. And then I'm eating the food. I'm like, oh, my God. Like, you can get, they have, when you go on the subway and you go, like you normally would buy, a bag of chips. Mm-hmm. They'll have, these meals that you can buy, while you're waiting for the subway in the subway tunnel.
Wow.
But the quality of food was just unbelievable. I was in Berlin, and that was incredible. Really incredible.
See that? I just felt like that was an important question. I felt that was an important question to ask. Like, if somebody's going to a different country, it's like, what did they eat over there? What did they try over there?
Well, my friends who travel are like, oh my God, you got to eat everything. And they enjoy it more than I do. I'm always a little nervous about. So I usually, if I'm traveling and I am nervous, I'll just say I'm a vegetarian. I can eat any vegetables. It's just when you start getting into the meats, that's when it gets a little scary.
Because you don't know what it is. Yep.
Yeah, man. You don't want to know.
You're probably right. You're probably right about that.
Yeah, so it's just me, but other people they'll eat anything, but yeah, no, I feel really grateful for because when I thought of being an artist as a kid, mm-hmm. I thought of it being a starving artist, on the corner with a little tin cup, and you're doing your paintings, and people would drop a quarter in the cup. That was basically what I thought I would be, is like a starving, almost like a homeless person.
Wow.
And then when I got to college and they said, oh, no, you can make a good living as an artist, I was like, really? So I had already devoted myself to the arts, thinking that I would just barely be able to survive, And now, I'm able to travel around the world. It's just so bizarre. But I think, again, if you really enjoy what you're doing, you can find success. I say you can find financial success if you truly are passionate about it and you do it morning, noon, and night. People will eventually, recognize it and reward you for your hard work.
Again, that was another awesome thing you just said there. Like how you're saying, as a child, because as a kid, when you think of things, as far as like a job or something you want to do for the rest of your life, if you're thinking of, I'll just use an athlete. I want to be an athlete because if I do this, a lot of people are going to like me. I can make this much money. But you're looking at art like, I love art, and the way I'm looking at me being an artist is I'm going to be getting change on the corner for my art.
Exactly.
But the thing is it makes you. I mean, I could be wrong, but I feel like it makes you want to work harder and be hungrier for it, just because you don't really know what you're getting out of it. You're just doing it because you love it. And then when you find out that later on in your college, you found out I can make money off of this. I'm gonna keep working at it like I was because I just really love this art. You're not doing it for the money. You're doing it for the passion.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's kind of a tricky beast. Not a lot. I would say, oh my God, most people that graduate college as artists don't become artists. That's really sad but true. They put a lot of money into college, and then they find that's very, very, it's like ridiculously hard to survive, and they give up. Understandably, they have a family, they have obligations, so they go for something that's more stable. And so very few people that I know are still doing it, because it is so hard. But I never really had that, how should I say, that backup plan. Like there was no other, I remember saying when I'm 10 years old, I said, I am going to do this or I'm going to die trying. And that was it. There was no at 15 years old, I don't know. It was like, I dug my heels in at that age, and I said, that's it. That's what I'm doing. And I know that it's going to be hard. And when I was in college, I'm doing all this crazy artwork and stuff like that. My mentor said to me, he said, John, you have two choices. You can blend into what's going on in the art world and make a living, or you can go off and try to do your own thing. And his name was Dave, Dave Pazalacqua. And I said, Dave, how could you ask that question? It's like, of course I'm going to do my own thing. And he said, it's going to be really hard. And he just kind of walked away. It wasn't like patting me on the back at all. He was kind of like shaking his head like, okay. It was hard at times, but there was no question. There was no question that I'm not going to compromise. I'm not going to blend in. Not going to do any of that. When I was working at Disney, I said to them day one, I said, I refuse to do the Disney style. I said, if you want me to do the Disney style, you can fire me right now. And they said, no, don't worry. They were like, no worries, you can do your own thing. You can do your own point of view. They were really super cool. But I think a lot of times you have to kind of, again, make that statement day one and just make sure. Because if you compromise a little bit as a young person, that compromise is going to pull you further and further away from your initial goal as years go on. I knew that as a young kid. I knew that I would never compromise. And I never did. Never did. All the way up until, from 10 years old to now. And it's starting to pay off now. I have older artists that are emailing me saying, how do you do so much work every day? How do you stay motivated? They're asking me, and I tell them the same thing. Well, I never compromised. I stuck to what I enjoyed doing, and now it's really paying off. Now I'm so excited. I want to share this information with as many young people as I can. It's pretty cool.
See that right there? That everything you just said right there is awesome. Like, from the first part, how you're saying you were young, art is all you wanted to do. That's it. No backup plan, no nothing. Like 100%, 120%, let's say, this is what I'm doing. It's either this or nothing. And you stuck with it, and you kept driving with it to the point to where you're at now. And you're still pushing it and driving it. And then back to when you just said about the Disney thing, you told them day one, like, look, I want to do things, my art my way, or you could let me go. I'll go somewhere else and do my art my way. And they're just like, go ahead.
Yeah, it's amazing when you ask. It's like people, because a lot of times people are too nervous to ask, or they're just not. They don't feel that their work is good enough, or I don't know what it is, but I try to teach my students to stand up for themselves, or at least show what they can do. Present it. Say, here's my stuff, and and getting it out there, getting it online, showing it on Instagram or whatever. And if you just constantly keep showing what you do and what you like to do, eventually you can make a good living doing that. So.
Yeah, that's good though, and that's another thing that's awesome. What you're saying too is you want to reach out to the youth with this kind of stuff, even if it's not necessarily with art, but just with what you're saying. Whatever your dream is, just like follow it 100%. Try your best at it. Don't give up. Know that there's going to be a lot of bumps in the road. It's not going to be smooth sailing at all. It's probably going to be one of the hardest things you ever have to do in life. But once you get to that top, to that goal, you'll be so happy and satisfied from it, and you'll want to reach a higher goal after that.
Absolutely. You can tell too. If you're working at whatever you're doing, a job or whatever, and you don't feel like you're enjoying it, think to yourself. I always have people make a list. Make a list of 10 things that you really, really enjoy in life, and then look at that list really closely. And probably some kind of job will appear, like some kind of a concept or an idea for a job, will appear from that list. You could say, I like skiing, I like animals, I like science, and you mix and you start reading, you start thinking about it. Actually there's a job that has all those things in it, For me, I love the sunshine, I love California, I love movies, obviously, and, so I surround myself with all that type of stuff. The other thing is kind of funny. I only have art friends. I only hang around with artists, So the conversations that we have are all about art, It's pretty cool. I surrounded myself with my dream people.
That's cool.
And if I meet someone who's not an artist, I make them an artist so that they can be my friend. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's cool right there. Like surrounding yourself with artists. Now, with that, do you bounce ideas off with these artists or?
Constantly, yeah. Or we work together. A lot of times we're sharing art. Most of the time it's my students who become friends later on, but they'll send me stuff like every day. I get 10 emails at least. John, you're gonna love this, and usually I do love it. So we constantly kind of keep each other inspired. As for ideas, it's kind of, for myself, I'm usually, how can I say, for the most part, I kind of come up with my own ideas and kind of go in my own direction. Sometimes people will say, hey, you should try this, and that's really cool, and I will try that, but I never ask for criticism. Okay. Kind of like, it's almost like Facebook and Instagram. When you put stuff on Facebook, no one's going to give you an unlike. If someone doesn't like your stuff, they're not going to say anything, So it's all positive. And I kind of ride that positive wave, It's kind of like I don't need, because internally I have enough. I'm criticizing myself enough already. Like I know things I need to work on, but you don't want to have those negative voices in your head saying, "Oh yeah, but I read your story and the characters aren't very good." You want to just kind of ride that positive wave, and when you focus on the positive, it gives you energy, and that energy keeps pushing you forward. And that forward momentum eventually will wipe away the negative sides too, And I think that's a lot of artists are looking for criticism, And I have to, as a teacher, you critique people's work, but for myself, I'm not looking for criticism. I'm looking for joy. I'm looking for people to say, "Yeah, man, keep going," because the world is hard enough already. You know what I mean? Just to get up out of bed is hard enough. So I open myself to positivity. The only time I'm looking for criticism is if I'm taking a class. And if I'm not taking a class, I don't need criticism. I am working so hard. So also online too. I will never criticize anyone's work. Mm-hmm. I'm always trying to praise people. If I don't like their work, I just won't say anything. I won't follow them. I only focus on the people that I really like.
That's interesting. That's really different, especially the world we live in now. Because I feel like, especially on the internet, following whatever it is, people will say, "Oh well, I don't like this. You suck." Blah blah blah. Just to, even if they're being honest and they don't like it, but I feel like a lot of times they're doing it from a point of being mean instead of a point of like, I don't like it because blah blah blah. It's like I don't like it. It sucks. You shouldn't even be doing this type of deal. And right. Instead of just doing what you're doing, if you don't like something, you just, okay, I just don't need to comment on that. I don't need to follow it. I'll just go on to something I like.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of the negative, the people that are the most negative or are focused on the negative are also the people that have a hard time with their own work.
Yeah.
They have, they're kind of like struggling themselves. And it's like, part of it is that negativity that you project out into the world is coming back to you. You don't realize it. You're like, yeah, I can't work today. I feel like I'm stuck. Well, you're stuck because you spent so much time trying to make other people stuck that you sabotaged yourself. It's kind of it's kind of funny. So I try to, and there are movies, so much that I dislike, but I try to, at least when I'm online, especially, never reveal anything negative. I made that, my goal is to never project negativity out there, because it's not helping me. Like, let's say you watch a movie like, oh my God, that was trash. And then you say online, yeah, that movie sucked. There could be a person who worked on that film, who did the costume, who did a great job, and you totally hurt that person's feelings. And the film company will never hire you because you just trashed them, So constantly, giving that positive energy out is only going to come back to you in a positive way. And the negative energy, it could really close a lot of doors for you that you wouldn't even realize,
That makes sense. That does make sense. And see, with me, I know it's a little different, but I'll say with my podcast, for example, like with the horror thing that I'm doing, I have people come on, we discuss stuff with horror or whatever. And it's like, I get what you're saying with the whole positive, negative thing, mostly with the comments online and all that. But I feel like with me, like, say if I'm talking about a movie, I have to say, like, especially with this platform that I'm trying to build on, I have to say how I feel about the movie, if it was good, if it was bad. And you know what I mean? Like, I have to, if it's like, I'm not saying it like it sucks and these people should never make a movie, like, stuff like that, but I have to say, like, I did not like the movie because the story, the acting, or whatever. You get what I mean?
Yeah. What would be good too is, like, let's say you don't like the story, if you could maybe briefly rewrite the story and say, I don't like the story. What if they did this? If they change this, the story would be so much better, So it becomes an interesting conversation about this was what's wrong with it, and this what could be right about it. And what you're doing is you're kind of starting to brainwash yourself into maybe making a movie yourself. You know what I mean? You're like, wait a second, I could do this. In fact, I think I will,
Yeah, that's actually a pretty good idea right there. Just maybe, as a matter of fact, I'm going to have to try to figure out how to make that into one of my, because I want to try to have segments on my podcast. That might be a segment to, like, say I'm discussing a movie with somebody and there's a certain part of the movie we didn't like. At the end, I'll say, well, what would you change about this movie to would make you, that would make you like it better? What would you change about that part to make you like it better?
Yeah, then it becomes a positive kind of conversation. It's like, hey, this is kind of cool. We're actually, even though you're just verbally talking, you're actually rewriting a movie. That's pretty cool.
I thank you for that idea. I think that's going to be a segment of mine.
Cool, that's great.
Because I do it here and there. Like, if I'm having conversations with friends about certain things, like, I didn't like this movie or this whatever because of this. Maybe they should have did this, or it would have been cool if it would have been a lot cooler if they would have done this. And
absolutely,
I don't know. I like that idea though. That's a really good idea.
Yeah. Then it puts you back in the driver's seat. I mean, we're not like, oh, I went to the theater, I rented this video, and I didn't like it. It's like we feel helpless. Like, oh, I wish it was better, But when you start saying, here's how it could be better or should be better, and then, other people are hearing that, you may influence people to make better films. Someone who made that film might actually watch your podcast and, who knows, you could help them out.
That I'm gonna have to. I got to go in there with that mindset now, because there's been quite a few movies that I've bashed a lot of times, and now I'm just like, huh, because of what you said. Quick one, as a matter of fact, I know you're not huge on horror like I am, but you're familiar with the Halloween franchise, right? With Michael Myers.
Yes.
Okay, now part 3, it's called Halloween Season of the Witch. The first time I seen it, I was a kid. Michael Myers wasn't in the movie at all. He had nothing to do with the movie. As a kid, I'm watching it. I hated it. I'm like, this is stupid. You know, blah, 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 that little rant. I was mad I even watched it. I want to say about a year ago, maybe 2 years, I seen it online, or I seen people talking about it online in like one of the horror groups I'm in on Facebook. And they were saying, watch this movie as a standalone movie. That's what they were talking about, how good of a movie it was. So I talked to my wife. I was like, hey, let's, like when we watch like a Halloween franchise or whatever, we'll watch the whole series. So like, hey, let's watch this. Then when we got to part 3, I'm like, look, I've seen this movie before and I hated it. I can't remember if she's seen this movie before or not at the time. So I was like, let's watch this movie as a standalone movie. Let's just watch this as like just a regular horror movie, whatever.
Yeah.
And she thought it was okay. I really, really enjoyed it. And I'm like, okay, now I got it. That's using your little positive thing you were saying before we even discussed it. But it's just like that. With certain movies, I guess you got to kind of take a little bit of a different look on it. Like, especially with that, like that had absolutely nothing to do with the movie. And then come to find out, with the Halloween franchise, like the first 2 movies they did, I guess it was supposed to end with Michael Myers in part 2.
Right.
Part 3 season, they still wanted to do like Halloween and have it come out around, in October or whatever. But they wanted it to be like a different scary movie or whatever each time with the name Halloween. But part 3 did so bad, Season of the Witch, they brought Michael Myers back in part 4 and so on with that. So, yeah, I'm going to definitely try that. Just like, what would I do to make this movie better or try to make this movie better?
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. I think that's, it's just, again, you're doing, critiquing is great, but then you're also doing as well. You're making, you're rewriting, so to speak. That's awesome.
Not only that, but like, again, back to your saying, like, you could say this movie sucks, but it's like, what would you do to make it better? You can use that in other parts of life, like, like say with work, for example, like you did bad at this, or someone says you did bad at this, but here's how you can make it better. So it's like you're saying you messed up, or you're saying they messed up, but you're also giving them advice on how to make it better. You're not just saying it sucks, that's the end, stop doing what you're doing, quit, do something else.
Absolutely. It's like, it goes with life too. Some people obviously feel like, oh, my life sucks. It's like, well, maybe it does, but what can you do to change it and make it better? You know what I mean? I think put yourself in the driver's seat. And yeah, there's some people that obviously have incredibly difficult lives that, it's just, but then you hear stories about people who were, at the bottom of the bottom, but they still had that positive spark inside them, and they were able to get out of the most horrific life experiences and actually, be able to live a joyful life, So I think that having that concept that we're not victims or observers, but we're in the driver's seat, at least enough to try, then you at least have a chance of improving your life or moving to a much more happier place.
You're right. That's so true right there.
Yeah, I there's a series of, because I'm constantly listening to inspirational speakers. I have like almost like a steady diet. I'll listen to this stuff all day long, So there's a lot of, when you watch the news, obviously there's a lot of negative stuff, it's all negative basically. But then you have these positive speakers, and they can, you're constantly bombarding your brain with positivity. And eventually you start to recite their lines. You memorize what they said so much that it becomes very difficult not to be positive, And a lot of times people, watch the news and they get involved in these politics and stuff. And And it's very easy to think of the world as this horrible place. And, unfortunately, a lot of that has to do with, media trying to sell more product. If everyone's upset and crying, they're going to be buying stuff to make themselves happy. But anyway, so it's like not allowing the world to affect you as much, but choosing your influences, and I've been doing that. I've always been very positive, but there was some little negative things way in the back of my mind that may have been holding me back. So I kind of said, well, let me just try to focus on these positive speakers and putting them on auto repeat. So I'm sculpting, and I'm just listening to all this positivity, and it's like, it just gets my motor going. I'm all like revved up, like, yeah, man, they're gonna, I can't wait to, get out of bed. I go to bed at midnight, and a lot of times I'll wake up at 4 a.m. to just do artwork or write something down, and, so it's not necessarily, I wasn't born with, surrounded by positivity, but I chose now to do that. I chose to surround myself with this positive stuff, and it's like I'm constantly plugging my battery in, and just get so excited about life, It's pretty
awesome.
Cool.
That is. Well, I had a question that just slipped my mind.
Sorry.
No, it's cool. It'll come back to me. Oh, what the heck was it, though? Oh, wow.
No, it's all good. But yeah, I it's great to, like, on Facebook to reach out, that you were able to find me, it's kind of pretty amazing if you think about it, that we can find each other from, whatever, thousands of miles away, and be able to connect. It's pretty cool.
It actually, like I've said before we recorded, and maybe the beginning when we recorded, I've been waiting to do this since I was a kid. Like, I've always heard stories about your art and all this stuff, and I'm just like, wow, I always thought it was awesome. Like, I heard you worked for Disney, and I don't remember what movies was told to me, but just over the years, and I'm just like, this is cool. And now that it's finally happening, I'm like starstruck. I'm like, I don't know. Like, my mind just like jumbling and bouncing around with stuff. I think next time I'll have more to say. Definitely have more to say and stuff. But it is pretty amazing. It is awesome that we got to meet on Facebook and talk on there, and then like on this podcast and all that. It's amazing.
Well, yeah, I think it's great. I mean, there's no reason to be starstruck. I'm just like a regular guy, just like pushing clay around. But I do, I am grateful for everything that I've had. I'm grateful for being alive. I'm grateful for being born. You know what I mean? And it's like, I just want to, get as much out of this life as I can, inspire as many people as I can. But I'm super grateful. I'm grateful for you, for your support. You're such a, incredibly positive, supportive person, so I'm grateful for everything that you said. I appreciate it greatly. You're awesome.
Thank you. I could say the same for you. And like, just as far as the support and stuff, I mean, the way I was raised, it's like, if you see somebody doing something positive, friends, family, whoever, you should definitely put support into that. Even if it's just as simple as saying, what you're doing is cool, keep doing what you're doing, because that right there, or, I mean, with the Facebook thing, sharing stuff, you see me sharing people's stuff on here all the time. It's just because it's like, it's just the type of person I am. It's just, I don't do it for people to say thank you. I don't do it for people to do it for me. I do it just because I feel it's the right thing to do. Like, these people are trying to send a positive message, or they're doing something positive, whether it be art or just as simple as a Facebook post that's positive that they want people to see. I'm like, doing something like that can inspire somebody or change somebody else's life, just as simple as clicking a like or clicking a share on this thing. So I try to be positive as much as possible. As everyone, we all have our down times and our frustrated times and all that, but for the most part, I try to be really, really, really positive and supportive of all that,
Yeah, that's fantastic. I think it's a great way to live, for sure.
And like I said, it gets tough at times, but you got to just, I don't know, I guess just take a deep breath and just close your eyes and do whatever it is you have to do to calm down. Sometimes for me, it's either my wife talking to me or it's music, usually. Those are like the top two.
Yeah, that's great. For me, obviously, it's, the art keeps me sane and joyful, for sure. There's always the X factor, I say, where it's like something will just, knock you for a loop, but, it's just enjoying the good times for sure. And maybe even remembering the good times when you're going through tougher times,
That's true. Remembering the tougher, and then even when you're going through the good times, I say remembering the tougher times because it's what's got you to the place where you are in life right now. Like without those tough times, there would be no good times in a sense.
Exactly. So true.
I still can't think of what I was going to ask you. Wow. I felt like it was going to be a good question too. But it'll come to me. Maybe next time it'll come to me.
Have you ever traveled?
No.
Like outside of New York?
Outside of New York, yeah. We have family down in North Carolina, so I used to go down there from a kid to like high school in August. First week in August, I'd go there. I've been there. I've been to Jersey a few times. Carolina is the furthest I've been. I've actually, I don't know if you've seen on my Facebook or not, like the Scaricon things that I go to. Scaricon, do you remember, where the Turning Stone is up here? It's like near Syracuse.
Right.
That's not really outside of New York, but we also went to one in Jersey 2 years ago, twice back-to-back years. That was fun. And that right there, like the cons are so fun because I get to like a lot of these people that were in the horror movies that I watched as children, I get to go shake their hand, get their autograph, take a picture with them. Like, to me, that's huge. I never thought in my life I'd be able to get that experience to do something like that.
That's great.
And I think it was last month. It was either last month or the month before last. My friend Anthony, who has the Video Game Crosstalk podcast that I was telling you about, that I connected you with.
Uh-huh.
I worked at a Comic-Con with him, the Saratoga Comic-Con. He went there promoting his podcast, and he needed help at a table, and he made a Facebook post about it. And he said, I need help this weekend, Saturday and Sunday. Can someone come help me out, blah, blah, blah. So I hit him up, and I was like, hey, man, I can do it. And I'm so glad I did it, not only because he's a good friend of mine, and to help him out, but because it was such a great learning experience being on the other side of the table instead of being the person coming up and talking to everybody and, getting autographs or taking a business card. I'm the one who's talking to the people about his podcast. Like, I would listen to him, what he's saying to people, and eventually he'd be like, hey, is it cool if I go take a walk? Are you good? I'm like, yeah, go ahead, I got this. And I would just talk to people and hand out business cards. And the first day that it ended, that Saturday, because he had to go. He had, family stuff to go to a dinner or whatever. I helped him load up his car. I went back inside. I grabbed some business cards. I just started networking for him. Like, hey, my friend has a cool podcast. Come check us out tomorrow, blah, blah, blah. And I made a couple connections for him. And I actually made a connection with the guy that was like, I don't know if he was hosting or whatever. I know he was announcing stuff a lot. I went to him, gave him my friend's card, and talked to him about it. And come to find out, this guy he does like his own comic books and all this other stuff. So eventually they're going to do something together. So I was just like, it was fun.
Yeah, that's incredible. That's awesome. That sounds like such a great experience. That's really cool.
Because I know it'll probably be maybe a year, maybe 2 years from now, maybe longer. I don't know. But I would eventually love to do that for myself. Like, have a table with my podcast, maybe have little horror trinkets to give out and all that, and just network, expand, and then just to have people coming up to me talking about the podcast. I think that'd be awesome.
Yeah, that's a great. I think you just got to make it happen. Like, that sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Why not?
Oh, I'm gonna. It's just that's why I'm trying to record so much now. Like, I think this, like I believe I said this is my 5th episode, and I got a definite one more next weekend and like another one the weekend after, and I'll probably try to throw in a couple more when I can. But I'm trying to, like with this, I want it to be a bi-weekly podcast, but I know that can take time. So if I have to do a monthly one at first, that's cool. But I'm trying to like record as much as I can now, and then get it cleaned up and mixed down, and just go with the flow with it.
Yeah, that sounds great. It sounds like a great plan for sure.
And it's fun. Like it's work, but it doesn't feel like work in a sense. Like you're not. I mean, as far as financially, I'm not getting anything out of it. I'm not looking at it to do that. I'm honestly looking at it to just talk to people on here about horror or whatever. Like, this is a special episode, so whenever you're on, it's a special episode. This is a random free dream episode, but so to speak. But just to connect with other people that are into horror and stuff, and their experience, like what got them into it, what's their favorite movie, what's their favorite scene, what they don't like about certain movies, what they love about certain movies, and just kind of expand from there. And I also want this podcast, my page and all that, people, I let them share their own horror, whatever they want to share. And if you want to post a video on there that has to do with horror, if you want to post your own page, if you want to plug your stuff on this, I want you to do that. I want to expand, but I also want everybody else to expand. Like, I don't want to be like, oh no, you can't put this on my page, and you know how some people can be.
Yeah, no, that's great. That sounds like it sounds like a great way to go. That's awesome.
It helps us all grow, and at the end of the day, it helps us all grow. You never know who you're going to meet or who you're going to run into with stuff like that. You could, for example, say I have somebody on my podcast who is not big, but then say 2 years down the road, they're way bigger than I am, and they're like, you know what? He gave me a shot. Check him out. Boom.
That sounds, yeah, absolutely.
But like I said, at the end of the day, I do it just because I've been into horror since I was little, and I love it. And I feel like there is a lot of podcasts about it, yes, but there's still more about sports, politics, and all that other stuff. It's just fun. And I think I love the horror genre so much is because horror can really go in any direction. Like, you can have, as cheesy as it be, you can have like a romantic horror if you wanted. You can have a comedy horror. You can have serious. Like, anything you want to do with horror, I feel like you cannot be wrong with it.
You're right. Exactly. I agree totally.
And as crazy as it sounds, that's another thing. Like, if I'm in a bad mood or whatever, I'm like, you know what? Let me throw on some Friday the 13th and watch Jason cut some people up so I can calm myself down before I do something stupid.
Yeah, I was the same way. When I was trying to relax, I would watch Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Oh, my goodness. That's a good movie. We may have to, you know what, next podcast, we may have to discuss that one a little bit, because that one I know some. Which one? Like the original or?
Yeah, the original, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, part 2 is cool, too.
Part 2? My
but
friend.
the original, yeah.
Speaking of part 2, I met, I don't know if you're familiar with the names, but Caroline Williams. She played the DJ in the movie.
Yeah, she's cool.
We met, a friend of mine, my friend Rob, and my friend Henry. These guys are like brothers to me now, but we met her, Caroline Williams, at the Scarecon in October, and we met Bill Moseley, and he played Chop Top in part 2. And
yeah, he's an incredible actor, actually. That's awesome.
That movie was, like, my friend kept telling me about it, telling me to watch it. I can't remember if I've seen it before. I watched it before we went to the Scarecon thing. I don't remember if I've seen it before then, but that movie was so freaking hilarious. So many quotes.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, that same actor, Bill Moseley, he played in incredible. He's an incredible actor. He was in The Devil's Rejects, which was really scary, terrifying performance. But he was incredible in that movie.
See, that's one movie I haven't seen, and I need to go see it. I'm gonna see it. It's just there's so many
Yeah.
there's so many
Yeah.
horror movies. I'm a horror fan. Some people are like, how are you a horror fan? You haven't seen this, this, and this. I'm like, okay. I'm the type of person, I'll admit it if I don't know something. I'm not going to be like certain people like, oh, yeah, I've seen that. No, I didn't see it. I can admit that.
There's so many. There's so many out there, yeah.
But I think I'm going to get going, though.
Yeah, this was great. Definitely a great meeting of the minds, for sure.
We definitely need to do this again. And I cannot wait to do this again. Like I said, you don't know how much this means a lot to me. It really does. Between this and then the sculpture you sent me, I'm like, this is a great way for me to end this year. Hopefully I can talk to you again before the year's up. But if not, this is a great way for me to end this year. And if I don't get to hear you on the podcast again, I want to wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And thanks again. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely, and happy holidays to you too. It's a great way to end my year as well. So awesome, so awesome.
And great luck with everything. Oh, I will throw this out there. When you do this movie, if you want to throw a character that's kind of based around me or whatever, go for it.
All right,
Go for
sounds good, man.
Have a good night. And thank you again.
Too. You too. Take care.
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye.
See you later, John. And remember, horror fans, I'll see you in your nightmares.